Welcome to GV Faculty Focus, the podcast where we introduce you to the faculty who are the heart of Grand Valley State University to learn more about their work that's making a difference for both our students and our community. And here's your host, GVSU President Philomena Mantella.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for GV Faculty Focus. I am GVSU President Philomena Mantella, and today I am pleased to welcome Sanjivan Manoharan. Sanjivan is an associate professor in the Padnos College of Engineering. His colleagues describe him as one of the most active and ambitious faculty members. In 2024, he won the Pew Award for Teaching Excellence. He's also a faculty advisor for the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. In that role, he directs students' teams who travel to Houston as a part of a NASA competition where they address space challenges. That sounds really exciting. He received his bachelor's and master's degree at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and his Ph.D. in mechanical engineering at the University of Cincinnati before coming to GVSU in 2016. Sanjivan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
As we mentioned, you have been honored for your teaching excellence. What do you do to provide such a memorable and successful classroom experience?
May I tell a story?
Please.
So I must credit my brother for this. He's a leading orthopedic surgeon in the UK with many awards to his name. So one day I called him and I asked him, hey, what makes you such a good surgeon? And he said, listen, in the operating room, any surgeon can do the job. But what makes you stand apart is the care you give to the patient outside of the surgery room. So I stole that, extrapolated it to my classroom. So most of it is interacting and mentoring and inspiring the students outside of the classroom. That's the bulk of it. Within the classroom, it's keeping it very simple and very easy. The most important thing for engineering is crystal clear explanations and the ability to explain a concept in very different ways, but simple to comprehend.
So in doing simple and contextual work, do you connect it to examples, or is your focus more on the logic and simplicity of the construct, or is it both?
It's a flavor of both. Initially, it's to get the concept correct. But after that, in order to piece everything together, the nexus between the theory and the practice is important. And engineering is a very hands-on major. So you have to always connect it back to the practical aspect of it.
I don't know if you have a basis of comparison of engineering majors and those who pursue the field and other majors. Does it have a higher level of anxiety? Sometimes, you hear that engineering is a very difficult discipline. Students will come with a lot of anxiety. And I think you've done some work around studying this.
A couple of years back, we did a very large-scale survey of students based on the imposter phenomenon across the campus. And we did it across different majors at different class standings. And engineering did turn out to be the one with the highest imposter phenomenon, which directly correlates to anxiety.
How did that influence how you worked? Is it really the spending this time and space to create that sense of knowing someone and caring for them? Was that the sort of connection between the research you did and the way in which you make that classroom come alive?
Yes, there are two aspects to this. So outside of the classroom, it's all about mentoring. And mentoring is very important because you can hit on various psychosocial factors and unlock the students' full potential from there. Within the classroom, if I give them a very complicated problem, they tend to get very scared. So the most important thing that I learned from one of our employers is, do students have the ability to look at a complicated system and break it down to the individual components? And that was his definition of critical thinking, which I adopted as well.
Very interesting way to think about it. How do you find the time for the work outside the classroom with individual students? That creates a lot of space to make that individual commitment.
I don't have a straightforward answer other than long hours. But when you treat this as your hobby, you don't see taking too much of your time. I don't track the clock, but
Yeah.
a hobby you shouldn't be tracking the clock for doing your passion or your hobby. And
So can I say that you love the work?
absolutely.
Okay, good. Because that's the way I feel about it. When people will ask, how do you put the time in as a president? Where are you going 7 days a week? You're going most evenings. I love the word. It's a joy to serve in this way, and that's the energy I get from you. How did you find your way into aerospace engineering? I mean, and it sounds like you have a very accomplished family as well, starting with that story. So why this field?
Again, back to family. My dad's a very accomplished civil engineer for the United Nations. And so engineering was always the one for me.
Mhm.
And then my mom is very supportive and encouraging me every time. Also, I do faint at the sight of blood. So she moved me away from medicine towards engineering. So that was engineering. But why aerospace is my initial goal was to be part of the US Air Force, hence aerospace. So,
Then you moved from that goal to teaching.
yes.
Tell me a little bit about that journey and why Grand Valley.
That was solely because of my advisor. When I was about to graduate, he did sit me down and say, it's time to think about jobs. And I said, okay, I'm going to apply to however many jobs I want. And he said, apply to academia.
Mm.
I asked him why. He said, apply, get a job. In 2 years, I'll tell you why. I did. And about 3 to 4 years after I came to Grand Valley, I asked him, how do you know to take this risk? He's like, well, listen, whenever we used to have our weekly meetings,
Mhm.
and you would explain to me what you had done, those were the clearest explanations I've come across in my life. So it's like that is the number one thing for an educator. So that's why I was very, very forceful for you to join academia.
He saw your gift and wanted you to make an impact
Yes.
with it. That's beautiful. What a great story. You're from Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Did you come here as an international student when you came into the US?
Yes.
Do you have advice for us for supporting international students? You've had the experience. How can we do better?
That was a good question. I had it a little easy because I had my uncle who also worked in Embry-Riddle. So it was easy for me to
Mhm.
ease into it. But for a student who does not have that connection, the number one thing is to make the student feel at home.
Mhm.
That's the first thing I missed, but my uncle was able to give that to me. So I don't know how that can be replaced other than with a good community, and Grand Valley does that. In my eyes, we have a lot of graduate engineering students from out of the country, international students, and they do seem to fit very well.
Yeah.
That's most and partly because of our faculty and also partly because of our students being very welcoming.
Yeah. And they enjoy West Michigan. I so often and frequently get to walk the campus and interact with those students, and they are just a joy to be in community with. So I really appreciate their making the Grand Valley choice. Well, I am so thankful for you being with us here today and to share some of your story. Thanks to our listeners for joining us, and we invite you to come back next month when we'll sit down with another GVSU faculty member to continue our journey looking at GVSU faculty and how they set themselves apart to prepare students to build Michigan's future. Thank you so much.
GV Faculty Focus has been produced by Grand Valley State University. Theme music performed by Associate Department Chair and Professor of Saxophone, Dan Grazer, and the Cinta Quartet. Thanks for listening.